Hello, this is Neil from iPaintGirls.com, and we're going to be doing a long series here. Well, I don't know how long this will be, but I anticipate it's going to be kind of long, and it's going to be a coloring of Tomb Raider, and I'm going to be using manga and comic book techniques, and I'm going to be showing techniques that I haven't shown in any of my other videos yet. These are really cool, helpful techniques, especially when doing manga or comic books. You can also use a lot of these techniques for regular digital painting and concept art and whatnot. But some of these techniques are just invaluable, and you're definitely going to want to know them. I'm going to show one right off the bat just for give you a taste of what's to come, because this first part is going to be a lot of stuff like how to get your line work ready, and I recommend you don't skip this part because I'm going to go through a lot of important information that you're going to definitely want to know, especially if you don't know it. Right, so let's say we wanted to color our lines, but we didn't want to color anything else. And notice that my line work is on a transparency layer. I'm going to show you how to get your line work transparent regardless of where it came from. And it's pretty cool, so I'll show you some techniques for that in just a second. But you have these lock options, and lock all is just for you can't mess with that layer, which comes in handy. You can just lock the moving position so you can't move it, but you can still paint on it, but I can't actually move it anywhere. And then I have this one over here. This is lock pixels, where it doesn't let me paint on it. And then finally we have this one here, which is lock transparency pixels. That means I can only paint where there's not transparency. So since everything is transparent but the lines, then, and actually not just the lines, but notice I have the little highlights in the eyes there as well. I forgot I left that in there. Anyway, so but no big deal. I'm going to need them there anyway. So now I can paint on this, and let's say I wanted to paint her lips a certain color, just the lines, then I can just change the line work just like that. Then I wanted to paint the teeth, a different color, I can do that. So this is a quick way to change the color of your lines without having to worry about doing, I don't know, any other weird techniques like selection and stuff. But that's still an option, and I'll show why that's going to be an option as we keep going. So the next thing is scanning our line work in, and I'm going to show you something here that you can do when you scan your line work in from paper. So let's say that this is my scanned work. I'm going to put the paper, make it kind of gray. Let's say, sometimes you scan in your work and the paper kind of gets grayish, or even has some darker gray areas where it's like, you had smudged your pencil or something and you just didn't want to go and erase all of it. No big deal, don't worry about it. Look how gray that is. It doesn't matter. Watch this. Very cool. I'm going to merge those two layers together. So let's say you scanned your work in, and this is what you have. Go to Image, Adjustments, Levels. What you do is you pull this black triangle to the right, and then pull the white triangle to the left. And don't want to pull them too close together, otherwise you start getting your line work starts looking kind of grainy. But about like that is good, and then click OK. And voila, as you can see, it looks nice. And watch this. Even if I look at both of them, I'm going to put this back on. That's the original. That's the new one. Notice it's a little bit more edgy than this one, but if I view it from actual pixels, I bet you can't tell the difference. You couldn't even see it changing, could you? I can't see it changing, maybe barely a little bit. But also, if I go back to here, to the stage, Image, Adjustments, and let's say I'm going to zoom way in, then I'm going to go to Image, hold on a second, kind of freeze. Right, so I'm zoomed way in. I can go to Image, Adjustments, and then go to Levels. And now I can see what I'm doing here. So I just want to make it enough to where it gets rid of the gray. And I can try to keep the lines as smooth as possible. And also you can move this one. You notice how I move this one over here, it gets move over here, it kind of stays more smooth. So just kind of, if you want to get as good as possible, but to where also it's white, and that's what you want. You want it to be as good as possible like that. Now hopefully your pen work is good enough so that when you do scan it in, your pen, your inking, that when you use this trick it'll actually work for the next step. This is how to get transparency, because we want transparency, because if we leave it like this, sure, we can click the multiply and we can paint underneath it, and that's cool. But the problem is when you go to this layer and then lock transparency, you can't just paint the line work. So then you're stuck with this technique. Now we want to change the line work colors. Let's say I wanted to change her hair. I have to go and lasso around all the hair, all carefully. Make sure I don't lasso it, using the selection tool now. Keep selecting all that. It's kind of time consuming. And then after I have it all done, then I have to go to Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation, Colorize, Lighten, Saturation. I have to go and search the colors I want, and then it's hard to get the exact color I want anyway. But that is an option if you're stuck with that. But there's a better option. Hopefully this will work for you as long as your line work is good enough, sharp enough after you do that levels technique, then you can do this. So have this selected, go to Selection, Color Range. Actually, I think I did it fast. Go up here, go to Select at the top, then go to Color Range. Have this regular icon which is default. Click on the white area, and then have the fuzziness right about here. Is if you have it down too much, it's like that and like that. So have it about here. It's usually good. And definitely don't want to invert because you don't want white lines. Then click OK. And this will put a selection around all the white, and then hit delete on your keyboard. And now you'll note when I get rid of this, I'm going to zoom out for I can unselect here by clicking outside. And so now I'm going to zoom way in, put the background back on, and you'll note that even after I did that, it's a little bit more. This is the original line work in Illustrator. I'm like zoomed way in so you can kind of see the pixelation, even though it's high resolution. And that you can kind of see a little bit more, so it's not quite as smooth. But watch this. If I go to actual pixels, you can barely notice a difference, as you can see. So that is an option, and you just mess around with that levels and zoom in and stuff and do everything I just did, and you can use your original line work. Or you can do the other option, set it to multiply and then zoom in and lasso each line, but then it's hard to get the exact colors you want. So if you have it transparent like this, then you can pick the exact color you want the line to be. I want the line to be that color, and since the lock transparency button is selected, the line work will be that exact color. So I like that method better, so definitely want to have transparency. Another option is to just scan your sketch in and then ink it with Illustrator. So let's say you just have a hard, but if you have a hard time inking with Illustrator, and what's really cool about Illustrator is you can take your time and just lightly draw the line, and be slow and have a shaky hand, and once you let go, bam, it all comes into place. I actually have a video. Search my YouTube channel, and after you go to like all the videos, whatever, and then go to search, you can search just my channel, and I have a video on there for inking in Illustrator. I should link it to the iDraw Girls, but I want to make a new one, so I'll be making a new one for inking in Illustrator because it's really awesome program once you learn how to ink with it and get around the faults it has. Also, just one quick word on inking is you want to have a lot of line variation. So notice that I have a lot of line variation, like these go from thin, thick, thin, thin, thick, thin, and so that adds a lot of character and movement and dynamics to your work. Whether if you just have everything the same, the same width, it's just kind of boring, and that's definitely not line work that you want to keep in your final piece. Even on stuff way like here, I add variation. Like this is a more prominent thing, and so I have it with the thick lines, and then this is less prominent, so it's just really thin line, thin line, thin line. And also I knew that shadows going to be hitting the bottom of her belt, so I used a thicker line for there. I used thinner lines for up here because I know that's where light's going to be hitting. So knowing that light's going to be hitting a certain place too, you can vary it that way. So just make sure you have line variation. Typically I usually go thin, thick, or thin, thick, thin. That's usually what I do for line work. So anyway, that's very cool, and definitely I have like a lot of thick lines up here in the hair because I want that part to really show out or show up. So it's cool to add variation like that when you're doing your line work. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the introduction. I think I pretty much covered everything, and then next we'll work on blocking and colors, and I got some cool techniques for that and shading and stuff. Right, so please comment, rate, let me know what you think. What you'd like to see in the future after this series is all finished. This is going to be a lot of parts and going through a lot of cool techniques, like I said. Please visit the site idrawgirls.com. I got some new stuff on there. I have a gallery now, so you can click the gallery and just go right to my gallery that way, which takes you to my DeviantArt account. I also have forum on there, so you can go to my forums and you can ask me questions there. You can post artwork there. You can share other tutorials there and stuff like that. Plus, on my DeviantArt account, I have Tutorial Heaven, a new group, and that group is all dedicated to tutorials. You can favorite other people's tutorials, you can post your own tutorials, and you can check my tutorials out and so forth. So it's a cool community. Hopefully we can get it growing. So invite all your buddies, and that'd be cool. Thank you for watching this first introduction part to coloring manga and comics.